Now, when it comes to everything going on in hip-hop right now, with who's about to join Kendrick Lamar on the right side of hip-hop, as we see some of the biggest collabs in the history of the genre in the matter of weeks, really the rap revolution is about to start with the next moves that are about to come from the biggest heavyweights in the genre possible. And now, before we go any further into this, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. It helps me out a ton. And as that red button is about to be pressed, like we have not seen from a set of rappers in decades, when Kendrick and Pusha T release what they have been working on, leave that like, so all of hip-hop is ready for what's to come. And now with that said, with the rumblings in the music industry that are happening right now, well, what is very clear is that rappers are terrified right now because in an era where Crashers and Crybab are still trying to get away with the same old mid-music, well, in a time where that already has not been working the way it once was because of what Kendrick Lamar has done, the status quo for the bar of greatness is about to get up even higher. And with the album that has been turned in, and with who is involved on this thing and what moments we are going to see, people are genuinely scared for the release of this new music. Because in an era where Kendrick Lamar has already been carrying the genre on his back, with the all-time great run he is having, and he has already changed so much just by himself. Well, if you thought that one boogeyman was enough, now the other boogeyman in hip-hop is coming back out in none other than Pusha T. And of course, what he is going to be doing is releasing the long-awaited Clipse reunion album with his brother Malice, and with Pharrell production, and with all of this, while the return of Push and Clipse already held enough weight, considering the type of track record that every single artist involved has, beyond just the presence of Push and this iconic duo within this rap album, and the moments that are surrounding it, based on what we know and what is being teased, we are about to get the most pivotal rap release of 2025 so far, at the very least, and the most pivotal record that the genre has seen since Kendrick Lamar's GNX. Because really, with how this thing is lining up, it is going to be the Avengers Endgame of rap music, because with Push, Malice and Phelm on this album already, and then on top of that, having features, and collabs here with Kendrick Lamar Nas, and now we officially know that Jay-Z has gotten involved. Well, as I said, if you have not already, be sure to leave that, like so all of hip-hop can see what is going on here. Because really, with the roster of artists that are going to be a part of this album being that, and really, we don't know who else may be on this thing as well. While this album is the dream team of Teos, but beyond featuring a group of artists that you could only ever imagine would do something like this really. Aside from the star power, the more you look into this Clipse album, and the moments that it's trying to produce all of these names tying back to this record is not a coincidence at all. And with everything that's being involved in this record here, when you really look into what's going on, the goal and intentions are very clear in terms of what message that everyone a part of this thing is trying to send to the rest of the rap game and music industry, which is that in this era where rap has not just been diluted, but because of the split that has happened in the genre, because Kendrick actually called things out for what they were, we can see where all of the sides in this thing stand. Well, as rap as a whole has become more polarizing, and there are so many different factions that are standing against what should be established greatness, and just the principles that have held this genre intact. Well, really beyond the Kendrick Lamar and Drake beef, in terms of the head-to-head of it all with this album, we are really going to see the after effects of what this has done to rap and how it has now pretty much created these sides or houses in hip-hop, where one is standing for the betterment of the art form and one is standing for the worse of the genre, of course, with Drake Act and all that clown show. And now, because of the sheer nature of this, and because all these artists align against Drake, of course the Drake stans are going to be up in arms when this thing comes out, and they're going to try to say that all these guys are obsessed with Drake and they're clicking up against him. Once again, this is not going to be the case, and the responses that are finally going to be coming from these other names that are not Kendrick Lamar, who are a part of this record, are all going to be warranted and really needed due to the way that Drake and this other side of hip-hop has handled this entire era and moment that we have been in. And really, when we look in the grand scheme of this all for Drake, and in this era where before Kendrick stepped in, he was trying to diss and beef with somebody like Pharrell in the strangest ways possible. Again, when you actually track back why so many of these people have turned on Drake and now why they are standing on different sides of the genre, it's all due to Drake's own decisions. And even with Pusha T beyond their beef being settled, let's remember that before Kendrick came, at Drake was still dissing him on Scary Hours 3 on a track like Wickman. And I mean, while Push has already won that beef, and I'm sure he won't have much to say in terms of actually igniting another back and forth, because we know Drake doesn't want that, I am still sure that Push is going to have some cold one-liners that will speak for him and Pharrell, and how they have now really won this entire moment, which of course all stems full circle back to an issue that Pharrell and Clipse had with Birdman multiple decades ago. And now, beyond Push and Clipse, who really are more of a vehicle to create this moment here, what is of course making this thing even more exciting is the fact that we are going to hear Kendrick Lamar on this album, which is almost 100% confirmed. Especially after we saw Kendrick Lamar going to his studio after Push was talking about the record and said that he was waiting for one more verse. And then after that, we literally saw Push do an entire side quest where he followed Kendrick to his Gillette Stadium show on the Grand National Tour. And with this, we are about to see peak, as we are really going to see a rapper who is actually on Kendrick's level work with him and really see what they can do in what is going to be the ultimate victory lap and the ultimate moment where Drake is just going to realize that he should have never messed with these two rappers who he had no business dealing with, and now beyond Kendrick and Push, which is already pretty much as big as you could possibly get, what is going to make this record even bigger. And the stakes even higher, and really even in terms of the collabs could be more eye-opening, because there is a rumor out there that Kendrick, Push and this all-time legend are on the same song. Here is the involvement of none other than Jay-Z with this record. And now with Jay, well, if Kendrick Lamar is the franchise player on this side of hip-hop and Push is another star who is coming in, Jay is like the general manager or player, coach at this point. Because beyond just being the guy who made sure that Kendrick was able to get on that Super Bowl stage after the run that he had, which he of course was in charge of that, well, once again, Jay is just showing how he looks out for hip-hop's best interest and is making sure that the best visions and albums are getting the best treatment. As right before Clipse began this rollout, they signed a distribution deal with Jay's Rock Nation imprint, which really does tell us so much about what's happening here as now with Jay and his team, literally having the job to push what is going to be the biggest rap album of the year, arguably, and what one of the most anticipated records you could get is we can almost guarantee now that after Push has been talking about these mystery features and these big name artists that he has been waiting for to fill in their verses, that between that and the actual industry obligation that he now has, Jay is going to be on this album as well, because as Hoviv knows, a verse from him alongside a Kendrick and Nas feature will make this album one of the most stacked records really ever, in terms of the talent on it that's already going to do wonders for this album. But beyond Hoviv, who knows how to take over any industry that he is in, Jay of course has so much to say in this time, because really, due to his role in this era of hip-hop and all the criticism that he has gotten, and even the beefs and disses that he has received from some older friends that he's had in the worst and most disrespectful ways, I think we all can expect that Jay is going to finally deliver that 4 or 5 minute verse that we have all been waiting to hear, really, where he is going to call out diss, address and flex to everybody that has been coming his way, every single thing that he possibly can, in a way that is just going to once again prove that he is one of the greatest rappers of all time. And now, really, in all honesty, is we have been waiting now for almost 3 years since Jay delivered one of the best verses ever on an awful DJ Khaled album, and we have really not heard him do any sort of these big addresses since then. He is overdue, and the time has never been more perfect. And again, from Push to Kendrick to Jake, to even Nas, with them all having a reason to just deliver all-time great material. Because really, in this era where the genre has split, whether they have been criticized or they have just supported Kendrick, when more MCs are jealous, these names are in a league of their own and are really standing as the gatekeepers of hip-hop. Whether you want to look at current acts or legends, I mean, when you just look at things like that, it makes sense why everything is coming around in this exact record the way it has, and why the expectations are scaring the entire industry and genre. Because again, this is literally people's Mount Rushmore of rappers all being featured on one album. And who knows if they are going to be on the same songs together and how that's all going to end up. And you know that these guys are going to use their pen with the utmost skill, and they are going to call out rappers that they want to address, and they are going to send nightmares to everybody who is not in this thing for hip-hop, whether that's Drake or anybody else where the shoe fits. And now, while I am sure that this record is going to change the status quo as a whole, and if Kendrick, Push and Jay are writing and rapping against one another on a song, you just know that the competition and greatness that it will bring will truly be unmatched and unprecedented. And it really probably will be one of the greatest moments we ever hear. While all of this talent should, and I will say, will give us an album of the year contender and a rap record that we are going to talk about for a very, very long time to come. Why this record is really going to cause such a major stir and shake-up in the industry is because all of these names are going to create an absolute nightmare when they address every single thing that they need to, and I think it will cause quite the reactions. And even with Pusha T really being the architect who was more responsible for what we are going to see than anybody else here, just as Push has from era to era, whether it was getting with Pharrell and Clipse in the 2000s, or working with the guy who he made Runaway with, and who I am sure he will get dissed on this record as well, in the 2010s, which made him a solo star, who had a consistent assistant producer, and Rotation Push really has this intangible, which has made him really a better MC than anybody else from his era at this point, which is that he is always ready to reach the next major point of artistic evolution, and is always getting genuinely more entertaining as a performer on the mic. And this is what's made album after album of his get more great, and always offer something interesting and unique in an era where generally everything in rap feels more stale. And I mean, this is why even with Push's last album, it's almost dry. It somehow became his first #1 despite him being over 20 years in his career. And again, nobody does things like that besides Push. And so really with this, while this Clipse album will offer something very different, I don't think it's going to break Pusha's trend of just offering some of the most consistent and exciting experiences in all of rap music. And really with the features and moments that Push seems to be putting all together, it really seems like Push is directly responsible for putting together these moments that are going to leave people talking about rap music and what happened on this very album for a very long time, and really with the level that Push generally does these things at. I think it's going to reshape and redefine the genre to some extent as we know it. And really, to be honest, when we contextualize the stakes of this all in this moment, not just for Push, but even for Kendrick Lamar especially, it almost seems like this album will be the lyrical and real version of what something like Future and Metro Boom's We Don't Trust You was in terms of the sentiment that all of these MCs are drawing a line together, and they will not stand with anybody else in this ever-growing superficial rap game unless they are locking in with the same principles that they have. And as Kendrick Lamar, I am sure to some level, definitely thinks it's whack that somebody like Future and others like him from that era have backpedaled on Drake and want to be cool with him, or have just made their disses seem more performative now, as they are not standing in them like he has. I think Kendrick is taking this opportunity to stand next to legends who have always stood by their pen, no matter. What I really want to make clear is that the rap game doesn't even need these individuals who don't take the craft seriously anymore, and that Kendrick will be competing and advancing the genre with the best of the best, not just in this era, but ever. I believe that all of that will give Kendrick the motivation he needs to simply release another verse of the year contender and deliver a moment that will undoubtedly leave us all talking for a very long time, which will cause a whole other cascade of issues for all the crash outs and crybabies. In fact, with everything that is coming in and the numerous ways that this record could actually do, I genuinely believe that we are going to be getting a classic with this record. Now though, this combination of Push, Nas, Malice and Kendrick, Jay-Z and Pharrell all end up actually working with one another and complementing their vision. I think that every single one of these legends is going to let everybody else in hip-hop know that the lines have been drawn and that they are going to lead this charge forward. And now, especially for Pharrell, but more importantly, Jay, Push and Kendrick, one of these guys, or all of them, is going to run away with a moment like we have never seen. And because of that, at this point, and as the rollout is getting closer, all we can do is just sit back and wait to watch and really see what peak hip-hop is going to look like in a fashion where Kendrick Lamar is not just standing by himself and carrying the genre, but he now hasn't just brought out good rappers from his current era, but he has brought out some of the best legends of all time to support him. And so now, with all of this said, let me know, what do you think about your predictions? For this Clipse album, everything that Kendrick J. Push and all of these other people involved in this record could be offering, and who do you think is going to end up being on this album as a whole? I can't wait to hear what you have to say about all of this. And now, if you made it to this point in the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. It helps me out a ton. And now, if you want to see how a little before this, while Kendrick Lamar is locking in with Jay-Z and Pusha T to make something, Great Drake is embarrassing himself by begging Kaizenat for help, check out the suggested video.